I'm pleased to present today on behalf of my co-author, Jonathan Foreman. Our paper focuses on the defined contribution system. Next slide, please. Our motivation lies in seeking solutions to the lifetime income problem in a world in which workers are often underprepared for retirement for reasons including a lack of access to savings programs, undersaving, and lack of financial acumen. People need better ways to transform their savings into lifetime income, and traditional strategies have some troubling drawbacks. For example, self-withdrawal strategies are highly uncertain due to the risk of ruin. And while annuitization is economically sound, people tend to shun annuities for a variety of well-known reasons. Next slide, please. States have begun to address these issues by introducing state-sponsored retirement savings programs such as secure choice plans. Now, these programs are beneficial in that they address the access and undersavings problems, but insufficient in that they do not address the problem of transforming savings into lifetime income. So we propose a complementary solution that we call lifetime insurance funds that can be state-sponsored and have operations that are outsourced to private companies. In our view, these would be efficient, low cost, and provide assured lifetime income. Next slide, please. So what is an insurance fund? Assurance funds would be structured as an open-end perpetual tontine or pooled annuity that adheres to a strict budget constraints with respect to the payouts. I wish I had a lot more time to explain what a tontine is. Perhaps afterwards, people interested can contact me for more information on that. But in general, a tontine or pooled annuity refers to an investment scheme in which participants individually bear investment risk and collectively pool and share mortality risk. So it blends elements of both traditional mutual funds and commercial life annuities. Balances are accounted for individually. Contributions are irrevocable to enforce that the risk-sharing arrangement is for life, and balances are forfeited upon death, and then fairly, and that's a key word, fairly redistributed to surviving members in the form of mortality credits. Now, note that there is no longevity risk transfer mechanism and no insurance whatsoever. Under the budget constraint, payments are in the form of a fully funded, actuarially fair life annuity. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that the payout levels are not guaranteed, but instead will vary naturally along with investment performance and the mortality experience of the insurance fund pool. In other words, lifetime income is not insured, but it is assured. Next slide. So why assurance funds? Benefits include lifetime income, efficiency, and sustainability. Assurance funds are well suited to the DC model, we believe, because they use individual accounts and can use the same underlying investments that exist in DC plans today. They enjoy higher returns than mutual funds due to their mortality credits. They also enjoy a lower cost structure than commercial annuities since there are no insurance and risk transfer costs. And because payouts are fully funded and self-correcting due to the budget constraint, this means that assurance funds are fully sustainable forever, literally. Next slide, please. Let's consider an example. Consider a state-sponsored retirement plan, perhaps similar in principle to the state-run 529 college savings plans that exist today. Plan offers two types of accounts: regular accounts invested in mutual funds, which could be the default option, and assurance fund accounts invested in these same underlying mutual funds. Investors may elect to contribute to one account type or the other or both. They may choose from a few different investment options. The default might be a target date fund, for example. Now, the assurance fund payouts, in our example, will begin at age 65 with two payout options. Lifetime uniform payout with an expected growth rate of 0, or lifetime escalating payouts with an expected growth rate of 2.5%. Initial payouts begin higher under the uniform option, but payouts eventually become higher under the escalating option. Next slide, please. First, let's consider a simple deterministic example of an insurance fund investor who begins to invest before retirement. This investor is a 35-year-old male making a $50,000 annual salary, which escalates at 4% per year. He contributes 10% of salary each year. Half of each contribution goes into a regular account, half goes into an insurance fund account. He invests in the same underlying portfolio in each account, so the same amount and the same portfolio in each account. Now, say that the investment return is 7% each year, and people die and forfeit balances exactly as expected by a designated mortality table. Next slide, please. This slide shows the running balance of each account. The regular account ledger is on the left, highlighted in red. The insurance fund account ledger is on the right, highlighted in green. The insurance fund grows faster because it earns mortality credits. These credits are a function of both the account balance and the mortality risk of the investor, which grows with age. Now, because relatively few people die before retirement, we would not expect a large difference in the two account balances before retirement. And you see that the insurance fund balance is 7% higher at age 65. Not a huge difference, but certainly material, and for the undersaved, this could be meaningful. Next slide, please. Now let's look at the payout phase of the insurance fund. Again, this is a deterministic example to start with. Mortality credits become much more significant after retirement as the risk of death increases exponentially. Here we start with the ending account balance at age 65 from the last slide and assume that the investor had elected to receive uniform payouts. Since returns and mortality are deterministic in this example, the payouts are perfectly uniform. Mortality credits grow more rapidly as the investor ages, and the very last penny is distributed at the maximum age of our mortality table, which is age 120. There's nothing magic here, it's just the mathematics of the funding constraint. And for reference, note that a regular account making the same payouts with the same initial balance would run out of money at age 84. That's 36 years sooner than the insurance fund account. Next slide, please. Now, in the real world, of course, returns will vary and people will not die exactly at the expected rate of return or expected rate from the mortality table. So we simulated a pool of 10,000 insurance fund investors under various portfolios using random returns and random dates of death. In this stochastic analysis, payouts vary as a function of actual investment returns and mortality experience. This slide shows a 10th to 90th percentile confidence interval for a relatively conservative all-bond portfolio when the investor elects the escalating payout option. And for this slide, I showed an initial balance at age 65 of $100,000, and in the first year, the initial payout is $4,462. Note that the mean of the yearly payout, represented by the middle line, does indeed grow at 2.5% per year. And the distribution about the mean is symmetric and quite modest. Now, before moving on, note that the expected return on this portfolio is 3% per year, and the volatility was 4%. Next slide, please. Now, let's look at an investor with the same initial account balance who chooses a more aggressive portfolio allocated 50% to stocks and 50% to bonds. This time, the expected return on the portfolio is 5% per year, and the volatility is about 8.7%. With higher expected returns, initial payout increases to $5,655, which is a whopping 26% higher than for the all-bond investor. This is purely a function of the equity risk premium. Of course, the payout volatility is also significantly higher. That's the trade-off. So while this investor is likely to achieve higher income each year than the all-bond investor, there is a chance that he will not. Investors can decide for themselves which payout distribution is best suited to them, and we envision that sensible default options could be provided to help guide their selection. Next slide, please. So in summary, state-sponsored assurance funds would offer low-cost, universal access to pension-like lifetime income. They provide greater income in retirement, can be managed by the same companies that manage retirement assets today and are fully sustainable forever. And finally, I'll note that although we did not have time to discuss it today, our paper also considers some other ways of minimizing payout volatility. Thank you.